Few in the galaxy earned Darth Vader's personal hatred to the point where he went out of his way to track them down and personally kill them himself. But there was one character who not only earned herself the very top of the Sith Lord's kill list, but was able to also escape his wrath for months on end, and continually increase the Dark Lord's rage to unimaginable degrees. Her name was Doctor Aphra, and she was one of the very few to not only survive multiple encounters with Darth Vader, but also held the secret knowledge of the Sith Lord's plans to eventually overthrow Emperor Palpatine. Born 2 years before the start of the Clone Wars, Celly Aphra was the daughter of Corran and Lona. Although the early years of her childhood were quite normal, things within her family began to strain when her father's obsession with his archaeology research started to put the entire family in danger, with him peering into the history of the recently destroyed Jedi Order. Fearing for the safety of her daughter's life due to her husband doing research that put them in the sights of the newly founded Galactic Empire, Lona took Celly to a remote planet where they began to live a peaceful, simple life as farmers. Although this was for her own safety, Celly Aphra had the adventurous and ambitious spirit of her father within her, becoming frustrated with her mother for taking her away from an exciting life. But this wish of hers soon became a dark reality, as during one of their days on the farm they were attacked by raiders. Witnessing her own mother being brutally shot right in front of her, the mother and daughter were barely able to escape their certain deaths by running into the nearby forests, but the injuries Lona suffered were too great, with her succumbing to her death shortly after calling in help from the Empire. And help did come, with Imperial troopers coming for the rescue from a nearby post, taking Celly Aphra into custody and later dropping her off at her father's residence. When she arrived at her father's home, she burned it down along with all the research it contained out of anger over his clear indifference over his wife's death. She then informed him that an Imperial psychologist told her that she may have mental issues, so he had a lot on his hands now, becoming the sole custody holder of the child. Regardless of this intense reunion between the two, they were able to sort of make up, with Celly Aphra eventually following her father's footsteps in archaeology. By the time she became old enough, Aphra obtained a scholarship from the Empire to attend a prestigious school that focused on archaeology. Despite doing some of the school's best research on the subject matter, the academic life was still too boring for Aphra, who ended up ditching the traditional career path of those of her degree and became a rogue. She then began rebuilding and modifying old Separatist battle droids, selling them on the black market and slowly building her name within the criminal underworld. Despite this life of crime, Aphra was still an avid supporter of the Empire, fascinated by its accomplishments through its technological advances, and almost sadistically attracted to its ability to use terror to ensure order in the galaxy. To her, strength meant everything, and good was just a fantasy that idealist fools clung to. Around this same time, following the destruction of the first Death Star, Darth Vader had been demoted by Emperor Palpatine over his failure in defending the Super Battle Station. With the not-so-subtle hints that Palpatine had plans of possibly replacing his apprentice as his second-hand man, Vader became desperate to prove to his master that he was still worthy to stand at his side and to ensure his own survivability. Due to this, Vader began building his own secret forces within the Galactic Empire and going out of his way to track down the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. During one of these missions, Vader came across one of the same modified battle droids that had been built by Aphra. Impressed with her technical skills, Vader came to locate the woman and take her into his fold. He did this by finding her in the middle of one of her heists, in which she was attempting to steal a dangerous AI system that belonged to a droid named O. Despite her being caught red-handed by the overseer of the vault, Vader came to her rescue right on time. Although there were Imperial treaties that disallowed anyone to simply walk in and take whatever they wanted, the Sith Lord couldn't care less and began eliminating all the security droids of the vault, eventually killing the overseer. He then rescued Aphra and brought her back to his ship, informing her of his need of her technical skills. Being in the presence of the Empire's greatest warrior, Aphra was barely able to contain her fangirlism, but was able to keep it cool enough not to overstep any bounds. Nonetheless, she went on to impress Vader once more when she installed the AI chip she had stolen, which activated O. She then used O to unlock the security features of a modified astromech droid, which she had stolen earlier from another Imperial vault, as the droid was too dangerous for even the Empire to actually use in battle. Despite looking completely harmless, the astromech droid named BT had a hidden arsenal capable of eliminating entire battalions. With both droids now programmed to obey both Vader and Aphra, the Sith Lord had formed his inner circle that would lead the way to forming his secret empire. With this crew now formed, they went to establish this very secret empire. First, they went to the recently cleansed world of Geonosis, stealing a droid factory from one of the last remaining insect queens. Now armed with near infinite ability to produce battle droids, Vader moved on to his next step in his plans, to eliminate all of his possible replacements that Palpatine had in his place. Kidnapping, torture, and assassination were all in play when it came to accomplish this. Aphra and the droids were also used by Vader to track down Luke Skywalker, who the Sith Lord had realized was indeed his own son after Boba Fett had discovered this fact. Together they investigated both Luke's former home on Tatooine, and later Obi-Wan's hut on the Sand Planet. The Jedi Master's hut was later blown to pieces out of anger. Another thing they did was to stage a heist on an Imperial cruiser that was transporting a recently collected credit vault from a crime syndicate. To ensure that there was no connection to him, Vader had Aphra hire bounty hunters to do the job with her, including a Wookiee named Black Krrsantan. They were successful, and thus another large resource was added to Vader's increasing secret empire. But Vader's schemes did not go unnoticed, as a highly renowned Imperial investigator began looking into the Sith Lord's suspicious acts. In one case, the investigator got very close to uncovering his schemes, to the point where Vader purposefully used the Force to move his former criminal clients into blaster fire, despite being ordered to capture them alive. During this same raid, Aphra was nearly captured by the Imperial investigator. Vader almost killed her as a means to ensure his own safety, but the Doctor was able to save her life by telling the Sith Lord that she knew the location of his son, making it clear that she would only tell him if he let her go. And so Vader did just that, quickly using the Force to make himself get crushed by nearby debris afterwards, as a means to deceive the investigator and making it appear that he simply walked into a trap. Later, Aphra was captured by the rebels and taken to their secret prison that orbited a star. However, there was a break-in from a rogue rebel spy who caused enough chaos that allowed Aphra to eventually escape. But her freedom didn't last long, as she was soon captured by bounty hunter Black Krrsantan, who brought her to Vader's newly constructed Super Star Destroyer, which was also hosting Emperor Palpatine. Understanding that this was part of Vader's endgame to finally eliminate his other rivals, Aphra came to fear for her life, as she knew that he was going to eliminate her as her usefulness had run out. During the chaos that erupted with Vader killing his rivals, Aphra was able to get herself into Palpatine's private chambers, in which she decided to essentially rat her former master out to the Emperor, but she completely misunderstood on who the Emperor really was, as when Vader came to greet him after being successful in taking out his rivals, Palpatine was simply amused on what Aphra had told him. Actually, he was proud of his apprentice for his treachery attempts and impressed at the lengths Vader went to ensure his own survival. So Aphra's entire plan backfired on her, leaving her in the same room with the Sith Lord who sought her dead. And death soon came for the Doctor, as she begged Vader to give her a quick end with his lightsaber. Instead, Vader wanted her to suffer for her betrayal, forcing her into an airlock and shooting her out of it. But this was not the end, as she was rescued by Black Krrsantan, who was a part of her plan of escaping Vader's grasp in making the Sith Lord believe he had killed her. Following that escape, Aphra continued her life now alongside the two droids BT and 000. She later met up with her father, and together they went on a couple of adventures exploring ancient temples, during which they were hunted by an ambitious Imperial officer named Tolvan. Despite starting out as enemies, having encountered each other multiple times, Aphra and Tolvan soon found affection for each other, with them later hooking up. Around this time, 000 was able to coerce Aphra to set him free from his programming to obey her. Once free from this, 000 essentially turned her into his pet, forcing her to obey him upon threats of informing Vader that she still lived. During this period of servitude, she helped 000 establish his personal criminal empire, with her doing heists and the like. She later was captured by the Empire and sent to a mobile prison, during which she became unknowingly friends with the notorious Dr. Evazan, who was wearing a disguise. Tolvan also came for the rescue, with her fully befriending Aphra in the process, but all of their plans were flipped upside down once Vader learned that Aphra was still alive. learning this information after she was tortured by the Empire and forced to reveal what she knew of him. Enraged by being deceived, the Sith Lord personally arrived to the prison to make sure that she wouldn't escape him again. While on the mobile prison, Vader went on a complete slaughter on all the other prisoners who were rioting. Aphra was of course able to escape once again, alongside the still disguised Dr. Evazan, leaving Tython behind. But the Mad Doctor betrayed her, knocking her out and eventually implanting a bomb within her and O, who was also captured. The bomb was to go off the moment the two walked a great enough distance from each other, forcing the two to stay close together in order to survive. Evazan also installed a live feed into the droid's head, allowing him and his friend Pondo Baba to watch their struggle as a TV show. They were able to eventually deactivate the bombs, freeing themselves from each other. Aphra also took an orphan child who had a giant monster for a pet under her wing. Around this time, Tython also defected from the Empire and became a devoted officer for the rebellion, forming a hatred for Aphra due to her abandonment on the mobile prison from earlier. Aphra soon began to mentor the orphaned child named Vulada, but sought to get away from her as she believed the little girl was in more danger being around her dangerous life. The rogue doctor soon began taking missions with an unknown contact, who in reality was Minister Vur, a member of Palpatine's inner circle. Her ultimate goal was to overthrow the Emperor, as she believed his cruel methods in ruling the Empire were not sustainable, and she hoped on manipulating Aphra's connections with the rebellion through Tython to achieve her goals. Her plan was successful for the most part, by orchestrating an event by making Aphra appear as a hero of the Empire after she was able to steal a believed superweapon from the rebellion that was supposed to kill Palpatine. However, this was all a ploy for the Minister to deceive Palpatine by sending the believed deactivated rebel weapon right into his palace. During this time, Aphra came under the Minister's protection, and because of this, Vader was unable to kill her due to her immunity. And Aphra's heroism to the Empire only amplified when she saved Palpatine's life a second time, for while the Minister was explaining her methods of subjecting worlds through deceitful tactics of staging false raids, Aphra noticed one of the masks kept in her collection, the exact same mask worn by one of the raiders that killed her mother all those years ago. Due to this, Aphra exposed the Minister's plans by recording them to the entire galaxy, ruining Vor's ability to covertly strike at Palpatine. Right after being exposed like that, Vader was given the go-ahead to eliminate Minister Vor, doing so by simply walking in and beheading her like an animal. But like before, Aphra was portrayed as a hero of the Empire for saving the Emperor from an attack once again. Due to this widespread love for her by loyal Imperial subjects, Vader was not allowed to kill her. Still desiring on ending her, Vader forced her to join his scientist team on his personal Super Star Destroyer, in which she was made to help the Empire locate the secret Rebel Alliance base. Hoping for her to slip up and do something stupid, Vader awaited to get any excuse he could to kill her without getting in trouble. Knowing she didn't have much time left until the Sith Lord would finally lose his patience with her existence, Aphra had a plan on getting away from him at all costs. And to do this, she lied to him about the location of the rebel base, leading him to believe that she actually discovered it. With this deception, she led them to the planet Tython rather than Hoth. Once inside one of the earliest Jedi temples that existed on the ancient planet, Aphra was able to make her escape with the help of O and BT. Having learned of the temple's systematics and traps from her father, Aphra used this knowledge to her advantage by using the structure to make her escape. Once Vader realized what she was doing, he was fully unleashed on ending her life, using the dark side to crush all obstacles that stood in his way on finally killing the woman he desired in murdering all this time. During this rage of his, Vader was attacked by O. Although he was able to easily cut down the droid, it was successful in landing a hit on him, injecting a confessional solid kyberite she received from her father, which hindered Force sensitives, as it brought up their greatest fears and undermined their ability to use the Force temporarily. While in this state, Vader fell into another trap of the temple, allowing Aphra to nearly kill him as the temple continued its assault on the weakened Sith Lord. Despite this, she was still in great danger from the powerful Darksider, as when BT got near him for an attack, the Sith Lord swiftly shattered the droid with force, causing Aphra to take cover and keep her distance. As Vader was finally pummeled enough from the traps, Aphra shot him with a cable that allowed her to temporarily disable his suit and hack into it, in which she disrupted all information he had collected on the Rebel Alliance's secret base, believing she owed them that much for all the pain she had caused them with her past actions. When Vader regained control over his suit, he started to drag himself to attacking her again. Realizing that he was going to break free from the trap soon, Aphra made a run for it, fully understanding that she will always be looking behind her back, knowing that the Empire's greatest warrior would constantly be on the hunt for her. Regardless of all the pain the Sith Lord had caused her, a part of her believed that he was the best thing to ever happen in her life, as it truly did give her the sense of adventure and excitement she always craved as a kid. She was able to successfully escape Vader's grasp, who was finally able to free himself from the Temple's traps shortly afterwards. Her story has yet to continue beyond this point, with it ending with her flying off into the vastness of space, accompanied only by her two severely injured droids, 000 and BT.